Hey friend, welcome to my podcast, The Fit Soul. I'm your host, Amy Ramsey. In this podcast, we will be discussing soul-filled strategies to unleash your confidence, increase your energy, and all the things healthy lifestyle. If you're a Christian woman who is ready to reach your God-given potential, walk worthy of your calling with abundant joy and energy, girlfriend, you are in the right spot. I mean, you only have one life to live. You might as well maximize it. Buckle in, and thanks for listening.
Hey there, welcome back to the Fit Soul podcast. This morning, I'm going to share a message that I sent to my Walk Worthy mentorship actually yesterday. And every morning I send them a faith activated text, and we're in our Worthy framework. The Worthy framework is all about being whole, optimized, resilient, transformed, healthy you. And we're in that healthy framework, part of the framework. And so we're really focusing on habits and the habit loop. And I know that this information is super valuable. And here's the interesting thing I find that I think about when I think about habits is that there's oftentimes that I know something, but I'm not doing it. And so you may be familiar with some of this information and not doing it. I think a refresher course on how habits are formed and habit loop and how to break bad habits is really important. Even as I teach this stuff and I live this stuff, it always sharpens me to hear it again. So I'm going to play this particular voice memo that they get for our podcast this morning on trying and training, and what is the difference in that? And so we want to be training versus trying, right? What is the habit loop? How does the brain take and how do we form a new habit? And all a habit is basically as an automated process in the brain. And when we're creating new habits and good habits and healthy habits in our life, there's a point and a place and a time that we have to acknowledge it's going to suck. It really is. Like, it's just going to suck because your brain is used to doing things a certain way. And then when you try to incorporate new things, your brain's like, yeah, no, I'm more comfortable over here. And the more I learned really the habit loop and started to understand, okay, wait, this is just kind of normal. And then I started to anticipate, okay, I'm going to create this habit loop in my brain. I'm going to create this new rhythm and routine because this is where I want to go. This is where I want to be. This is who I am becoming. It was so empowering to me to go, oh, okay, let me sit with this discomfort instead of numbing myself out. Whether it's excessive scrolling or, distractions where I'm not getting to the things that matter the most or that I need to. Whether it's bad, like emotional eating and just poor food choices that diminish my energy. And I would just start to go, okay, oh, wait a minute. Okay, this is a bad habit. This is actually fighting against godliness and the woman that God's calling me to be. Like, these are patterns that I don't want in my life. Okay? And so when I started to just really embrace the moment and focus on strategy over, instead of just trying, but focus on strategy of training, of like that identity transformation, it really shifted some things in my life. It really changed some things in my life. So I hope you enjoy this. What I want to share with you too, though, is I've got a free midlife guide that actually has, so in this particular memo you're going to hear this podcast, I talk about the Fit Soul 6 habits. I have a phenomenal resource that I want to give to you for free. It's going to be in the show notes. But it's a midlife master plan. It's my growth action plan. This is the same plan that I use in my programs, I use with my clients. It is powerful. And it will move that needle forward in your life. And I would love to give that to you today. So you can just hit the show notes. I'm not even going to call it the URL. I always get them confused. I don't know why I can't remember them. In fact, my amazing assistant, operational manager, and I call her my magical unicorn, she's like, how can you not remember this? I'm like, I don't know. I just can't. It's like my brain doesn't take hold of that. So I don't want to tell you the wrong thing. Check the show notes in this. In fact, if you find value in this episode, I'd appreciate it if you wanted to share it, downloaded it, all the things. Okay, well, enjoy this podcast on training versus trying. Good morning. Happy Monday, Queen. I just want to say that, hey, it's a new week. And what a privilege that we get to say, it's Monday morning. Oh my gosh. Or, hey, it's Monday morning. Like, that's such an option, right? And so I just want to pop in with this voice and this energy. And I want to encourage you to say, hey, it's a new week. And wow, that we open our eyes, we open our hands, we open our hearts to everything that God has for us this week, and become the woman that He wants us to be this week. Our focus this month is health and habits. And so this week specifically, we're going to be talking about that habit loop. We've been talking about that in our program. It's in your members portal. You can go and learn more about this. But here's the deal. I want you to hit reply this morning after this message, okay? I want to hear from you because I want you activated. I want you to we have our Fit Soul 6 habits that we are really focusing on. And I believe that these habits, these particular habits will move the needle forward in your life. So it's the habit of focus, getting very clear on what you're working on. It's the habit of energy, generating the energy that you need, restoring, having rhythms of rest and restoration built into your life, knowing what you need to eat and do to create more energy, really focusing on your mind of creating a more being diligent to create that mindset that you want and that you need to do all that you're called to do. The habit of courage, taking steps forward even when you're scared half to death. Getting out of your comfort zone. Being able to speak what you really think instead of always holding it back or just saying yes. That habit of productivity, being able and making the conscious choices to eliminate the distractions in your life. Listen, man, some days on this, I just don't do so great. Like, I walk around going blah, 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 and find myself scrolling aimlessly on social media and not getting the things done that I know that I need to get done. And the more I've learned how to focus and get clear and write down the stuff that I need to do and take that time to plan and prepare, which you guys have that growth action plan. You have a weekly plan. I ask you each week, what are your 3 non-negotiables? And I'd actually like for you to hit reply and tell me, Amy, these are my non-negotiables this week. This will be done Friday, 5 o'clock, period. The end, no excuses. Okay? There's your activation right there. When we start to get really clear on what we need to do, then we can have less time of just, the distractions overtaking us instead of being in the place where we need to be. Okay? And then we have stewardship. How am I stewarding the gifts, the talents, the time, the treasure that God's given me? And how am I stewarding my thoughts, governing them well? How am I treating other people? And then impact. We are created for God's service. Ephesians 2:10. You are a beautiful masterpiece, created for service for God. And our life is not about ourselves. It's absolutely not. And the enemy comes to kill, steal, and destroy. We know that. But he also comes to keep us really distracted. He comes to keep us stuck in our negative thought patterns, and then also in patterns of selfishness. So this week, this month, as we're really focusing on our health in our worthy framework, remember worthy is that acronym: whole, optimized, resilient, transformed, healthy you. Everything builds upon each other, but as we're really focusing on who we are becoming, that identity transformation, we're focusing on who God is, the holiness, the worthiness that he has, and then who he's calling us to be, and then rising up to that occasion. The way that you're going to start that and start building healthier habits and healthier practices in your life is, number one, you've got to be aware of where you're spending your time, aware of what you're doing, aware of your thought patterns, aware of where you are going. That's why we have goals. They give us direction. They give us legs. They get us motoring. God's calling you to a thriving life in this season, even in the hard, even in the circumstances that are literally ripping your heart out. He calls us to joy. He calls us to peace when we activate that part in our lives according to the scripture, according to the Spirit, when we're abiding in him. This is about being resilient. This is about being strong, but this is about being super intentional. And so this is a calling forth for you this Monday to set powerful intentions for yourself. We're not worried about perfection. Nay, shenay. We are really focusing on progress, moving that needle forward. And so focusing on these habits, like letting this is who I'm becoming. Focus, productivity, courage, energy, stewardship, impact. This is who I'm becoming, and this is what I'm going to do to get there. We've been talking a lot about how we automate these practices in our lives to increase success in these areas of our life, right? And we've been talking about just what is a habit. It's an automated process. It's an automated behavior. And when we're becoming who God's calling us to be and up-leveling and 10xing and moving that needle forward, it's important to know what habits we have in our lives, the good ones that are building us towards that, and what habits we need to break. And it's never comfortable to step into new habits. It's always uncomfortable. But here's what I've learned. Here's what I want to encourage you. As you are more aware, was able to hit new goals, new things in my life, new successes, create healthier habits, create healthier routines. Finally, when I embraced the idea that it is going to require me to become uncomfortable. For me to have growth and change, I have to get used to being uncomfortable. This makes sense to me in the physical body. I know that for me to push through and to get to accomplish what I want to with my physical body, it always requires hard work. It requires usually a level of pain and just massive discomfort, right? Any half marathon that I've run, even a 10K, and you might be listening to this going, girl, you ran a 10K. There's no way I could run 6 miles. I get it. I didn't do that until I turned 40, by the way. I'd never run more than 3 miles. I would be on the treadmill running 3 miles, about to die. But I had to train. I had to really train myself for that. and to train myself for those things. And what I learned by that training process, or even any type of physical, like a program that I've done, or 75 hard, or some of these things that I've done, what I realized is, man, the reward on the other side felt good. And it's really interesting to me that when we tap into that hard, when we accomplish and we actually go and we do what we say we're going to do, we tap into dormant parts of our DNA. We become more of who God's created us to be. And so that reward system, that loop that we're focusing on building in our lives, in our brain, is really powerful. So I want to encourage you this week that as you are setting about your healthy habits, I want you to, I love what Craig Rochelle says, stop saying trying. I'm trying to do this. No, you're training. You're training yourself to do this. And in the process of creating habits, James Clear talks about the habit loop. So most people say it's a cue, a response, a reward. James Clear says it's a cue, a craving, a response, and a reward. And the more you can understand what is your cue, and usually there's there's something that is going on for you in that moment. For those of us that are emotional eaters, for those of us that are maybe emotional drinkers, whatever, we got big feelings and we want food, right? What are the cravings? What are your cravings in that moment? In that we're actually rewarding our brain short term with dopamine when we give it sugar, when we give it the alcohol, when we give it the scrolling on social media, when we give it going shopping, right? There is a reward in the brain, and we've got to rewire our brains differently. And so this week, as you are setting about your intentions and your habits, I want you to get really clear on where is the new habits that you're building and what do you have to let go of, and create a loop in your brain. Create this loop of this process where it becomes automatic for you when you're feeling stressed. So be very aware of your own physiology. Be very aware of your psychology, what's going on in your body, and question it. Okay, why? Okay, if I eat this, then I'm going to get the dopamine hit. If I stop and I continue to scroll right now, I'm actually going to get a dopamine hit, but that's not what I want. That's not who I'm becoming. So I just want to challenge you this week as you are going forward in this week. What I want to encourage you, I want to challenge you, is to become hyper aware of the cues and the cravings that you've got in your life. And in that moment, you've got to have a plan for what you're going to do. And so this is getting a little bit longer today, and I'm really happy, because I know that if you take this part right here, this was the part that was missing for me for a while, was I had to become, in that process, in this habit loop, for me to make change in my life, I had to embrace hard. I had to embrace discomfort. I have to embrace there's freaking temptations that's really I'm struggling with right now, and I want to go and do that. But no, I'm going to incorporate discipline in this moment. Instead of choosing what I want right now, I'm going to choose what I want most. And this is a sharpening of our character, and how you're speaking to yourself in this moment matters. It's not that you can have whatever you want to have, but what do you want most? You are in a very small population to grow, to embrace growth, to embrace personal growth and development, and to become this woman that God wants you to be. You're in a small population of the women that will actually do the work. This is where you got to roll your sleeves up, sister. There ain't no shortcut around this. Can I just be really, really real? I would love to just put a flowery little happy face and a really pretty heart or something on this and say, yeah, okay, yeah, rah, rah, rah. But what I want to do is be a coach and be a mentor that actually challenges you so you can have the change that you want in your life. So can you do this? Can you embrace the fact that you can honor the hard? Embrace the suck. Know it's uncomfortable. And give yourself something else to do in that moment of when you're breaking that habit, that bad habit that you know that you need to overcome. And focusing on those 6 habits that we talk about. Focusing on your focus. Where is your focus? Who are you becoming? Your energy. Will this increase my energy or will this deplete my energy? Courage. You know what? It may take you courage to break free and get to the next level. Stewardship, impact, productivity. Focusing on these things, moving that darn needle forward in your life. We don't get tomorrow back. You don't get yesterday, last year, the last decade back. We got to let that go. We're running a new race. But I want you to finish your race strong. So I'm going to repeat this scripture for us this morning as a faith activation. Galatians 6:9. Let's not get tired of doing what is good. At the right time, we will reap a harvest of blessing if we don't give up. We reap what we sow. We reap what we sow. And I want you to say that out loud. I reap what I sow. I am in full control of my personal actions. I assume personal responsibility for my thoughts. I assume personal responsibility for my actions. And good habits are often, this is Principle 17 from Craig Rochell's Power of Change. Good habits are difficult to start because the pain comes now and the payoff is in the future. Bad habits are difficult to stop because the payoff comes now and the pain is in the future. So your payoff is in the future. So I just want to encourage you to take those steps. Set fabulous, powerful, strong intentions right now. Live with a state of intention. Live in a place of conscientiousness. Live in a place of awareness. So you can automate some actions in your life, which are habits. And it starts in this process. I'm cheering you on. I would like to hear from you. Hit reply because I really want to hear from you. What are you focusing on this week building a good habit? What is your goal? All right. I'm cheering you on. I love you.
Girlfriend, thank you so much for listening to the podcast. I'm so honored you come back every week and that you share the Fit Soul podcast with your friends and family. Every time you share my podcast on Instagram or Facebook, I do a little happy dance. Make sure you subscribe to the Fit Soul podcast where you'll never miss an episode. You can go to Podcast, Apple, Stitcher, and Spotify and subscribe so you'll never miss an episode release. And just know, I truly love bringing you excellent content and great guests to provide you motivation and faith inspiration to help you walk worthy. And one of the ways you can help me is to go and leave the Fit Soul podcast a review. If you have just a moment, would you please go over and leave a review for the Fit Soul podcast? Thank you again. I love you. And here is your reminder. You are worthy. Until next time. Bye-bye.